For those of you who are not familiar with Culinary Historians of New York, we are the second oldest culinary historians group in the United States. We were founded in 1985, and we have monthly programming of this nature. I think very stimulating intellectual programming. If you're not familiar with us, please pick up one of our little cards on your way out, and we will hope to see you at a future event. But really, most importantly, one of the things we have done at Culinary Historians is to take a step back every so often and to look at the folks who have actually made this new area of both general interest and academic study possible. If you had asked people 30 years ago when Culinary Historians was founded, what's a culinary historian, most people wouldn't have any idea. And certainly in the academy, it was not an area that was well respected. There were not programs in food studies, although we have someone here who founded the food studies program at NYU, Marion Nessel. Thank you for doing that, Marion. That was very nice of you. Things like Boston University's gastronomy program, the University of Adelaide, and others. Over the past 20 years or so, really, food has become a hot topic, both in the academy and in the general public. So we at Culinary Historians thought we should step back and look at some of the folks who have actually made this possible. So in 2004, we instituted what we call our Amelia Award. The Oscars, the Tonys, all of that. Why did we come up with Amelia? It's named after Amelia Simmons, who wrote the first cookbook in America from 1796. So we thought she was an appropriate person to honor with the name of the award. And it also is true that it's been largely women who have been involved in culinary history, although not exclusively. As I will say tonight, we are honoring Nach Waxman. He is the second guy to receive an Amelia Award. These come up every so often, and what they do is really acknowledge a significant contribution to the field of culinary history. And it's not necessarily an academic contribution, although many of our recipients have written many books or have taught at the university level, things like that. But what the Amelia Award really tries to focus in on is that sense of generosity and support. Prior recipients of the Amelia, not only have they done things individually in culinary history, but they have been incredibly supportive of others in the field of culinary history. Whether it's been someone like Jackie Newman, who donated a huge library of Chinese cookbooks to Stony Brook, or someone like Barbara Ketchum-Wheaton, who has created a monumental database of various cookbooks. There are literally thousands of cookbooks that are in this database that she is working on. So it is that sort of person who is going above and beyond the mere study of the individual to helping others study. And for that reason, when I walked into Kitchen Arts and Letters for the first time, which for me I think was about 1988, so the store had been open for a few years, and I was taking classes at Peter Kump's New York Cooking School, and my chef instructor said, you have to go buy Harold McGee's on food and cooking, because everybody had to have that and read it. And I walked into Kitchen Arts and Letters, and literally within 4 feet of the front door was the book I had to have. And then I looked around and realized this was going to be a really bad day for my credit card. There were so many things there. And I've talked with Nach over the years. He's been supportive of culinary historians. He's been supportive of crazy requests for out-of-print books to look for them. He sold books that a number of us in this room have written, so we really thank him for doing that. And he has been really the person behind the scenes who has enabled so many of us in the field of culinary history to prosper. And we have to thank you for that, and we want to give you a little token of our appreciation. So Nach?
This folder does not signify a speech. The main purpose of this folder was to hold the directions to finding this building. So grateful I was. Thank you so much, culinary historians. I have to say this is a far from ordinary award. Those who know me personally will appreciate that there is no approach to the world of food that I value more than history. And so being inspired, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to preach a bit, obviously, to the choir. We all know that cooking is an exquisite art and an admirable skill. We all know that cooking brings us pleasure, and what we eat bears importantly on our well-being. But cooking, both the process and the finished product, is dependent on a lot more than the ingredients we select. The slicing, the chopping, and the dicing we put them through, the ingenious ways that we roast them or poach them or grill them, and the clever ways that we present them. The component that supports the entire structure is in its background, in history, which aids us in understanding fully every dish that we produce, whether we're trying to replicate a Thai home dinner, discover why Eliza Leslie made pastry in her particular way, pull off a memorable and authentic backyard luau, or explore the creative underpinnings of Heston Blumenthal or Wiley Dufresne. History must be front and center to our thinking, because fine cooking may bring amazing flavors, textures, and aromas that may satisfy our yearnings, challenge our need for that which feels old and comforting, or alternatively, that which may offer novelty and excitement. But what recipes and method alone do not offer us is genuine depth. Their study in isolation may be stimulating, but in the well-remembered words of Karen Hess, that kind of study is not serious. To tell the truth, Karen also had little patience with the non-culinary aspects of history, although she incorporated much, much more of that into her work than she would ever have admitted. That wasn't pure Karen. I don't know what it was. In any event, to illustrate briefly how we try to approach things in our bookstore, a word about the always handy bagel. What is a bagel to make or to eat without knowing bagel culture? We think we know what it is. We surely all have opinions. But we're missing a great deal that's important if we don't know how it came to be and why it is what it is. Yes, of course, it is possible to make a bagel that bakes up with the consistency of Wonder Bread. Yes, you can dip your bagel in melted chocolate if you're determined to do so. You can use it to make a bacon and peanut butter sandwich if you really wanted to. None of these approaches is exactly against the law. But if you do them, you are sidestepping the bagel experience. And that experience, most of us know, is far beyond what comes from our taste buds and our nasal sensors. What we should want to know is what is the story, what is the backstory on bagels, and then on vol au vent, steak and kidney pie, spaghetti and meatballs, country captain, Kubiak, cholent, and hundreds, thousands of other things that we eat, or some things. And not just the folklore, but whether they were invented or just evolved, and where and what they mean to those who cook and eat them. That is what we try to convey to our visitors at Kitchen Arts. And that's not just for those precious few who identify themselves as food historians, but for all our customers, from home cooks to the most in-the-moment professionals. And pursuing these questions on a dish-by-dish basis is, of course, only the beginning. There are even greater stories to be told, of migrations of people, of foods that traveled and those that stayed home, of larger-than-life chefs and of great gourmand, of foods that were gathered or grown and those that were created, stories of books, stories that touch on geography and politics, on science and on religion. And we seek to learn and to teach all there is to be learned about restaurants and taverns, bistros, cafes, diners, market stalls, and food trucks, not to mention our own home kitchens and valuable laboratories for fresh ideas. Well, I think at this point, having given you absolutely no warning, I'm going to screech to a halt. Because this is it. There is no conclusion to tack on. I think that I've said nothing terribly new here, but after all, isn't that just what we always say about history itself? Thank you again so much for this honor.